everybody, it's Sarah. Welcome to Unmuzzled, a podcast. We spell that P-A-W-D, not P-O-D, because around here we're talking about animals. And today I have Abby, who is the shelter manager at Chicago Canine Rescue. I was just doing research on her. I did know a little bit about her, but she has worked with all kinds of animals. All kinds of animals. So I can't wait to hear about that. And obviously now she's working in the Chicagoland dog rescue environment, which is, if you listen to this podcast, you know, is a tough place to be right now. But with people like Abby around, there is hope. Before we get to her, supporting sponsors, you're up. Thank you so much to our supporting sponsors. Give the gift of joy and memorable moments of furry loved ones with a gift card from Kimberly Kingen Photography. For more details, please visit her website at kimberlykingen.com or contact her directly at her email, kimberly@kimberlykingen.com. The Canine PT is Chicago's highest rated dog physical therapy clinic, and they're dedicated to enhancing the lives of your four-legged companions as they age or when recovering from an injury. They also offer a discount for rescue dogs. For more information, visit thecaninept.com. That's THEK9PT.com. Anything is Plausible is Chicago's premier dog training company. They offer group classes for every stage of your dog's life and have a talented team of behavior specialists to work through any issues that need modification using positive reinforcement. Check out Anything is Plausible. Liz Starks at Guaranteed Rate. Check with Liz for the absolute best mortgage options. She helps when others can't and even calls it rescue loans. Buyers, sellers, investors, give Liz a call. She can lend in all 50 states. NMLS number 224526. Thank you, supporting sponsors. I decided to put the supporting sponsors today before the presenting sponsors. So you'll hear from the presenting sponsors later. Abby, I'm bringing you right in. Oh, boy.
Hello. Sorry.
You did not put a chihuahua in the frame as I came to you because you don't know me well, Abby, but if that dog is adoptable, we're in trouble.
Oh, yeah. That was Fifi, a little floating Fifi in the background as some of the staff wanted her to get her on camera. But yeah, that's little Fifi. She's adoptable.
Oh boy. I'm going to have to check her out. I mean, I have right now 2 chihuahuas and a big dog, but you know, there's always room for a little dog.
Oh, absolutely. They can squeeze right in there. You're totally fine.
Exactly. Well, nice to meet you, Abby. I know you're relatively new to the Chicagoland rescue scene, but I feel like let's just bring you in, let's baptize you into this, get you on the podcast, which Erin, a friend of mine who is actually new to CCR as well, recommended you. So I'm excited to have you. I've known Janice forever too. So the Chicagoland rescue world is enormous, but it's also so small because everybody supports everybody. I don't want to start to cry already. It's so nice because when I first got into rescue, when I was volunteering at animal control, there was a lot of like bitterness and you know, competitiveness. I don't know why I'm starting with drama right away. We're going to get to you in a second, but it has become now a place of support, and especially with the current shelter situation, a lot of people leaning on each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people in these leadership positions are female, so it is so nice to finally have support from other rescues and other people in these, you know, really remarkable positions. And I am like really proud to see how far it's grown. I'm a smaller piece of it now. I run my own foundation, but as far as the rescue portion goes, I'm not as immersed in it. However, I get to know everybody because of Live Like Brew Foundation and helping animals with cancer. So, I am so happy that you're here now and looking at your background. So tell us, growing up, were you always around animals? Were animals part of your childhood? How did you get here?
Oh, yeah. Growing up, I always had dogs. My first dog as a child was a rescue dog from the Humane Society, and my mom was always huge on animal rescue. She was one of those ladies that was always taking in dogs, and when she was a kid being like, "Mom, can I keep this dog or can I help this animal?" And I think that really rubbed off on me for sure. I would help her in high school. She'd go help out with adoption events at, the local PetSmart, things like that, and I would tag along. Um, and then going into college, I was studying parks and protected area management. I actually wanted to be a park ranger. And that's what kind of led me into the world of exotics. So I started working with wolves, but I won't get too ahead of myself, but definitely started as an animal lover and then working towards a professional field. Again, I wanted to go the park ranger route and doing wildlife management, and ended up working now with dogs. So kind of a transition.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. So, I grew up in Pennsylvania. My parents actually, for a bit, lived beside a wolf sanctuary, and
Hmm.
we would go, and it's hard to appreciate animals that you don't really see a lot, but you might hear them or hear about them, and until
Hmm.
you actually like get to see these animals up close in a sanctuary type environment, you really don't appreciate them. So, and I feel
Hmm.
like for you working with all of these kind of animals, like you have really a more of a true appreciation for them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is nothing more magnificent than a wolf. They're always going to be my favorite animals, and that's how I started out. Was an internship in college that I ended up working at full time after I graduated. I was monitoring wolf behavior at a sanctuary, and they are some of the most awe-inspiring animals. Their behavior is fascinating. It's very different than dogs. They act a lot more like cats, and even though we were a sanctuary and we were a very hands-on facility for the animals where it was safe to be hands-on with, it was still amazing to see, even in a captive environment, how wild they are and how unlike, your typical dog at home is. It's just a very remarkable animal.
Yeah, what? So working with all of I mean, I'm sure there probably were some scary moments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it kind of takes like a special person to
Mhm.
do that. So what do you have? Like what mentality do you have kind of working in these where really like honestly anything can happen in these
Yeah.
environments?
Yeah. So, at my first facility that I worked at, Wolf Sanctuary in Colorado, since we were hands on, you had to be very, very observant, because you're walking in these habitats that are 2 to 3 acres in size that housed two wolves at a time, sometimes three. You have to know what kind of pack dynamic you're walking into. You have to know where every animal is, because they are a little sneaky. They like to sneak up on you. You need to know. Um, just what to expect as you're going in. And with wolves, a lot of that is expecting the unexpected. So it's not crouching down, not letting them get behind you, all of that. Because even though some of them were friendly and appreciated their handlers and like to come up for attention, it can go wrong. I mean, they're wild animals. So being really even keeled in the habitats and observant is a, like a must in those situations.
Whoops, sorry. That's just remarkable. I mean, that's like really cool that you did that.
Mhm.
So what do you think is the biggest lesson that you learned from working with all of these different types of animals?
Yeah, so it was really kind of a growing experience for me because first I worked with wolves at a hands-on facility, and then my other exotic experience was at the Wild Animal Sanctuary in Keensburg, Colorado, which is the largest carnivore sanctuary in the world. And that place is the most awe-inspiring facility. Some of you, might be familiar with it, but that is a very different experience because everyone is very hands off with the animals. They're coming from extremely abusive situations. If you've seen Tiger King, a lot of the tigers, when I worked there, we pulled tigers from those places after they were shut down in federal raids. And so we gave them as much distance as possible to keep them as wild as possible in this kind of unnatural setting, really. But I learned to respect those animals from a distance way more from coming from a wolf sanctuary that was very hands-on to a facility that was very much not, except for in medical care needs where they're sedated, and learning to respect like this beautiful, profound animal from a distance, and realizing that as humans, we don't need to be heavily involved and hands on with them at all times, because sometimes that's really stressful for those animals. I think learning to respect animals from a distance, in every capacity, that's something that I grew to learn working at these two very different facilities.
So, I mean, dogs are nothing now, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes those little chihuahuas, I'm like, give me like the biggest, like most nervous dog you've ever seen. And I'm like, easy. And then bring in a chihuahua and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? No, don't work with dogs this small.
yeah, I used to be like that. So it's so funny, at Chicago Animal Care and Control, which I know you've been there.
Mhm.
We would take out pit bulls and huge dogs. We had
Mhm.
no idea of their background, especially if they came in as a stray. And even if they come in as an owner surrender, you don't know. And not just pitties, shepherds,
Mhm.
Dobermans. I was always so nervous about shepherds in their cages because
Mhm.
that's no dog wants to be in a cage, but a shepherd, a German shepherd especially. But it is so funny because it's not funny. It's actually crazy that I never got bit. I mean, I'm literally putting a slip lead around a dog's neck and getting them out of the cage. And I was there about 3 or 4 years. But it's funny about the chihuahuas because like that you're reaching into these like little cages and usually they're under something or they're
Right.
stable,
Yeah.
and I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't do it. And finally there's an amazing vet tech at Chicago Animal Care and Control named Jackie, who I still talk to a lot, who found me a few of my chihuahuas, including Cheese, who passed away. But she taught me, how to win over a chihuahua
Yeah.
in a shelter system, and it was never easy, and I was so scared. And you think like this little dog is going to like latch onto your finger, and some of them do, but like most of them don't. They're just nervous, and once you win them over, the rest is history.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's still funny. And it's like, as I've been working, at this facility, I work with a lot more small dogs. When I worked for Best Friends, I worked with all kind of the red collar dogs, which means they have a certain level of bite history. And we had some of the Michael Vick dogs there. And so I'm working with a lot of bigger, kind of usually pitties, which are my favorite. And then, coming here, I'm like, oh man, now I've got these small guys. I'm not used to this. I'm used to wolves, the tigers, the pitties. And I'm like, let's do it. But no, I'm definitely getting better about the Chihuahua handling, which is funny. I need to preface that I have a Chihuahua personally at home, so I shouldn't be like, okay, gotta psych myself up to pull this dog out of the kennel. But it's yeah, coming from working with all big animals, they're my one like it's my kryptonite.
That's hilarious. It's so good. Okay, so Chicago Canine Rescue has been around since 2001, over
Mhm.
8,000 dogs rescued. I mean, just incredible numbers when you think about what that equals per year. How did you get here? So obviously you made kind of a 180,
Yeah.
to dogs, but how did you get here?
So, I've always kind of bounced back and forth between working with exotics and then working with dogs, because I went from wolf sanctuary to best friends to the wild animal sanctuary and then to here. I was actually moving because my boyfriend at the time was moving here to go get his PhD. And, it had been a while. So I was like, oh, well, okay, I'm looking for a change. I'll come with you. And I was researching some different animal welfare facilities in the city, and Chicago Canine Rescue really stood out to me a lot because I was coming from the Wild Animal Sanctuary, which is a huge organization, and I've worked for a mix of small and large nonprofits, and something about a smaller nonprofit really calls out to me, because I feel like one person can really help make a lot of difference, and it feels more impactful sometimes going in there to help out and provide, maybe some of the background experience that I had. And so I was really excited to have the opportunity to work for a smaller, I call CCR like a mom and pop rescue, just a smaller rescue. And so I found CCR. I spoke with Janice months before I even started interviewing. And just kind of asking, are there any positions open? I'm really excited. I'd love to be a part of your organization and what you're doing. Kind of got the ball rolling, and 6 months later, they had me come out for an interview and go through that process. And I just kind of fell in love with it here. I mean, I'm here like almost every day. awesome. Sucked me in.
Yeah. I mean, timing is everything. I feel like,
Mhm.
wow, that was like smart of you. And then it all happens for a reason. It's
Mhm.
amazing. Um, so for people that don't know Chicago Canine Rescue, and I've been there a lot, tell us about it because you have an actual physical shelter, but you also
Yes.
have foster programs.
Yeah. So we do everything. We do have a facility that right now we house 35 to 40 dogs on site. We do like all of our transport quarantine on site in isolation building or not buildings. That would be nice. Isolation rooms. And then we do have about 35 to 40 dogs in foster. We try to keep an even split. So, getting fosters is always challenging. So right now we have about 25 dogs in foster homes. That always fluctuates depending on the time of year, but we tend to keep 35 to 40 in house. So we do have multiple rooms in the back. We call adopts floor, playroom, and then multiple different isolation rooms, one of which is a room full of whelping pens, which we can use for our sensitive kids that need it to be a little quieter, and also when we have nursing moms and babies come in.
Yeah, it is a great facility. I mean, and it's really well laid out for adopters as well. Do you mostly rescue from Chicago area?
hmm
Okay, so
Yeah, so we still do transports out of state with Mandy Transports for familiar at Morning Meadow. So we have our Mandy transport that comes every 2 weeks, but then a lot of our pulls are from. We work a lot with Cicero Animal Control, actually, so they're pretty nearby to us. It's not too far, right down Cicero. And then Chicago Animal Care and Control, those two are our big ones. And then we do a lot of owner surrenders as well here. We can't take strays, so that's kind of the bulk of ours is going to be owner surrender, CACC, Cicero, and then Mandy. So that's kind of our combo.
yeah, and for those of you listening, so a stray hold is basically an opportunity for an owner to get their pet back. So there are some rescues that are able to stray hold for 5 days. So if you go to Chicago Animal Care and Control, a lot of those dogs are strays, and I say that with air quotes if you're listening. Um, sometimes we always, try to take the benefit of the doubt when somebody surrenders a dog. But an owner could easily say that their own dog is a stray, especially if it's not
hmm
chipped. And it's really tough because, obviously with an owner surrender, you're going to get more information about an animal that's going to make them hopefully get out of there and not be euthanized. And it's really important. It's so important. But for the current, and I'm calling it a shelter crisis because it is. If you look at the
Yeah,
numbers, it's sad. It's
absolutely.
really sad. What for you? You obviously have a brick and mortar, but I
hmm
assume obviously monetary donations are always going to be number one.
Yeah.
Fosters are probably number two.
Mhm.
You probably have a wish list since you have a brick and mortar. Volunteers are obviously important, but what can people do to help? Because it is so sad when you look at the numbers from animal control. I don't know what about Cicero if they euthanize, but it's
Yeah, they
really, really
do.
sad. Yeah, it's
hmm
really, really sad. And a lot of strays are showing up because people they can't afford right now. They can't afford the pets, and there are programs out there. I mean, Live Like Rue helps animals with a cancer diagnosis, but there are other programs like Chicagoland Rescue Intervention Support Program. Paws has some programs to help owners try to keep their pets. But what for you and your organization? What do you think is your biggest need right now?
Yeah. So, kind of outside of what you pointed out, like with the monetary donations, I mean, fosters are huge. If we have reliable fosters who will take in their foster. Sorry, there are now dogs in the background of my screen. These are our littles. If you would like to adopt a Chihuahua,
They know me. Like they must know me.
they
Who is that
sensed
back
they
there?
were like, Sarah needs Chihuahuas, and we
Like
must show them.
I mean, sold. I mean, you want if I'm asking you how people can help, and somebody's offering up
Yeah,
me a
I need
chihuahua, like
fosters for those Chihuahuas, those four Chihuahuas in the background.
in,
That'll
I'm
help me.
in.
That'll help me. I mean, really, like fosters getting those Chihuahuas out, for example. I mean, it opens up a kennel so that we can go to CACC or over to Cicero, who is they're the Wagon Tails Animal Shelter is their name. They're the municipal shelter in Cicero, and then we can fill that with another dog from one of those organizations. We were just at CACC today, and we're tracking like, okay, this dog is going into foster today, this one's going in tomorrow, the CACC dogs aren't coming till this day. It's like shelter math of figuring out who can go where. And the more fosters we have, the more dogs we can take in. And that's a big thing we're trying to do now, is grow our foster pool. And we're so small, and there's some other, big name organizations out there that really get tons. Like they can have like 100 fosters at a time, which is amazing. And, I want them to have 100, 200 fosters at a time. I want to have 100, 200 fosters at a time. Basically, I'm like, every person in this city needs to be a foster. It's a huge city. Chicago can do like, in the animal welfare world, everyone in Chicago is doing so much good. And if more people got involved, I mean, the city is massive. We could do so much good for the dogs here. We just need those people. And I think, to your point of what can people do, is spreading the word that, hey, Chicago Canine Rescue needs a foster. You were willing to hold on to a puppy for a week? Awesome. They could really use the help. And outside of the monetary and in-kind donations, like that's the biggest thing for sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It takes like one share, like, right. It takes one share to reach somebody. Right. So when Facebook first started, I remember like somebody shared Joanne Conca's. I tell this story all the time. She was American Animal Rescue Society, and something needed transport or a foster. I can't remember. And the rest is history. I mean, I saw that post. I drove to Animal Care and Control. I drove a really emergency type situation pet to the ER and stayed there. And then like I was hooked, but it's so important if you can't do something to share it. And here's the thing. It's the same for everything, like events, dogs, merch set, like, just hit the share button. It does not hurt you to share, because if they sell 50 of those t-shirts, that might mean that goes to medical for the other dog. If you like the shirt,
right.
If you like the dog, if you like the event, if you can't make the event, but you love the event, share it, because this is how we all stay afloat as 501c3s, is sharing things, events, fundraisers, merch sales. Like, even those things are so important. I think in general, we've seen this swing with like social media algorithms where it doesn't reach people, but the more people that share, the more people it will reach. So please, if you see something and you like it, just hit the share, or even comment or like. I always say that too. Like, if you don't want to share it on your page, it's okay. But
any interaction is good.
Yeah. And the fostering thing too, I think it's important for people to realize, like, it's a commitment. It's hard when the pet leaves, but it is the most rewarding thing you can do, is to you save 2 dogs. Like you said, Abby, you save the shelter space. So you empty a cage, and then you're also taking that one in. So then they're able to get another dog. So there is nothing more rewarding. It's hard, but everything in life is hard. So please, if you can take in one of those 4 chihuahuas, and then tag me, and then I'll share it, and then maybe that dog will end up in my house. But Abby, you're amazing. I'm excited to meet you in person. I'm going to support you at your events. And Erin was right. I knew you'd be a great guest, but she didn't. It wasn't a tough sell for me. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and best of luck in the role and everything.
Yeah, of course. And thank you so much for having me. And I'm going to get you a Chihuahua. Just one of these days, I'll just show up at Roo Fest and be like, is this yours? I found you one.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Yeah, of course. You too. Have a good night.
Everyone, support Chicago Canine Rescue, especially if you're in the Chicagoland area. Their facility is magnificent. They're a great organization that I've supported for many years. Since I knew they existed. And I used to live about 2 miles from there. So it was nice. I could always like drop off donations and stop in. Presenting sponsors, Europe. Canine Cruise is the place to take your pet. They offer dog and cat boarding, dog daycare, pet retail, and mindful day school. With over 12,000 square feet of indoor space and a huge yard, they are the one-stop shop for professional pet care in Chicago. Bark Pouch makes 5 mess-free lickable treat recipes in 2 sizes for a delightful time with your dog or dogs. Their grab-and-go pouches make warm weather fun and easy breezy. Whether you're traveling, enjoying a long walk, patio season, or family and friend gatherings, Bark Pouch's irresistible, all-human-grade treats let you focus on what matters most: time with your dog or dogs and loved ones. Kiki's Corner Natural Pet Foods in downtown Winfield, just a block south of CDH Hospital and the railroad tracks. Kiki's has all your food and health aid needs for dogs and cats. Kiki's Corner for a healthy, happy pet. Thank you again, Abby, for joining me. Chicago Canine Rescue, amazing organization. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye.